Alright guys, today I wanted to make a video about Barcelona because there's been a lot of questioning about them recently, purely because of they're actually spending money on players and fair bit as well. It's not just like one or two players, they've signed quite a few players this summer. And a lot of people are basically going, oh, well, aren't they bankrupt or something? Don't they owe like millions of pounds to like multiple different people? And if you didn't see, Gary Neville put a tweet out the other day, basically saying how Frankie de Jong, who is reportedly owed 17 million euros in wages over the past 2 years by Barcelona, so he hasn't been paid them. Gary Neville basically said that he should take his own club to court, because they owe him money and it doesn't look like he's going to get it at the moment. So there are two sides to this. I think first we'll look at Barcelona's side. So Barcelona's side obviously is they're in a lot of trouble and they need to get out of it. Now a lot of people are saying, well, hang on, spending big money on players isn't going to be the way to do it. But what these people are failing to understand is that the way these clubs make so much money, a lot of it can be through things like shirt sales or social media stuff, or like anything really. You need to keep your brand as big as possible, um, or as relevant, if you like, as possible. I hate using that word because it's just one of them crap words, isn't it? But the best way to do this for big clubs is to make the occasional big signing, because that brings hype towards the club, and it makes all these tourist fans, if you like, go out, buy the new home shirt or whatever, buy the away shirt with the said new signings player on the back. So, for example, they've signed Lewandowski and they've signed Rafinha recently. So those are two players that are very good players for a start. Lewandowski's one of the best strikers in the world and has been for a decade or so now. And Rafinha, Barcelona love a Brazilian player, don't they? They've had loads over the years in players like Neymar, Rivaldo, Ronaldinho, Dani Alves. There's like so many to name. So there's a lot about that as well. The whole Yoga Benito thing. But so yeah, that's how they're going to bring a lot of that back in, and they're aiming to basically make more money than they are spending on the actual transfer. Um, which with Lewandowski, that wouldn't surprise me because the fee wasn't the highest; it was about 40 million. And Rafinha maybe I'm not so sure that that's more 60 million. They've also brought in Frank Kessié in for a free transfer, same as Andreas Christensen. So those two hopefully can bring a little bit in from like fans from their respective countries, Denmark and Ivory Coast. But also there is the wages to take into account. Now we're going to look at it from the player's point of view. So there's obviously two players who are being highlighted the most at the moment, and that's Frankie de Jong and Gerard Piqué. Gerard Piqué is supposed to be owed up to like 40 million, which I find incredible, to be honest. Um, and yeah, you can understand why that they would be disappointed, but I don't think either of them have actually come out and said that they're really annoyed that they're not being paid these wages. Although, however, with Frankie de Jong's supposed transfer move to Manchester United or Chelsea, we'll just say Man United for easiness because that's the most heavily reported one. So with his move to Man United, which just seems to constantly go round and round in the circle of Frankie de Jong doesn't want to leave Barcelona. Barcelona have accepted a fee from Man United of around 75 million euros, but the player doesn't want to leave because he wants to stay at the club and get the money that he is rightfully owed because it's in his contract. Um, so yeah, I mean it is a mental situation, and you can understand why the player wants to stay, and the Barcelona have got to let him stay purely because he's got a contract and they owe him money. So it's basically what I'm wanting to make this video about is it being disrespectful from Barcelona, because I genuinely do see it from both sides' point of view. However, I do feel as though if you sign a player, you have a right to, you have to already be paying the players you have in your team the money that is theirs due to their contract. So it is a bit of a tricky one. But if Barcelona do that, then they can't bring any more players in. They're going to get worse as a club because they're not bringing these new players in, and their squad might go a bit stale and they might drop down the league a little bit. Like they might go from being one of the best teams in Spain to, you know, one of the top 6 or 7 teams, like a Europa League team, which they don't want. So yeah, I do think they have to pay the players they've already got signed on first. Yeah, it is a little bit disrespectful not to. But at the same time, I partly understand why they are so desperate to bring these players in, because they know that that is the best way they're going to get out of this situation that they have put themselves in. Like, let's not get it wrong, like that it is their fault they're in this situation anyway. But yeah, it's a mental situation. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it before in football. And I think the only way out of it is Barcelona need to rely heavily on quite a lot of their youth players who, um, you know, aren't on the biggest contracts ever and are very talented. So players like Pedri, Gavi, Ansu Fati, and all these players, because they just can't afford to make too many big signings, because eventually it's going to get to a point where with a lot of the players are going to start to realise, because it won't just be De Jong and Piqué that are owed wages. There'll be a lot of them. There's going to get to a point where the players are realising that they've basically done free labour because they haven't been paid what's in their contracts effectively. So yeah, it's a very tricky situation for Barcelona, but there is like right and wrong, and they aren't doing the things that are right, if that makes sense. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.